sweatshirt with a crocheted sleeve. The first thing you have to do is, of course, take off the original sleeve. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our handy dandy scissors, and we're going to start at the bottom, and you want to cut on the outside. You don't want to cut on the seam, so you want to be just past the seam. Sorry. So we're just going to start there, and then we're just going to cut as close to the seam as we can without cutting the seam. And we're just going to take that sleeve. See how we still have the seam? We're going to take that sleeve off. Okay, now that we have the sleeve removed, and it doesn't have to be perfect because most of this is going to be covered up your crochet. So, you know, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. So what we're going to do next, and there's different methods, of course, to getting started. So we're just going to use a needle and yarn, and we're going to go right next to the seam, and we're going to put in some stitches to crochet into. All right, so we're going to get our yarn onto our needle, and this is it's a yarn needle. It has a little bit bigger hole. Okay, now that we have our yarn on our needle, we're going to tie a knot in the end. And we're just going to be doing some sewing, and we're actually going to make our stitches about the same size as we would as if we were just crocheting directly onto the project. We're going to start in the armpit. We're going to go all the way around and end back up in the armpit. Rearrange all my hands. Okay, so here's our seam on the inside, and we're going to go just inside that seam and pop out on the other side. Pull that yarn through, and one of the things I like to do is we're going to go, into the fabric for this first one, and then from here on out we are going to kind of do a backward stitch a little bit. Come through the fabric, and then we're going to go backwards to the hole that we've already done over here and go back into that hole. So we're going to do like a back stitch all the way around. It's really not too complicated. It's pretty easy to sew. It's a lot easier than doing denim. And I will meet you at the end. Okay, now we're going to attach our yarn to one of the stitches that we made. I start in the bottom of the armpit. We're going to chain 3, and then we're just going to do 2 double crochets to make a granny cluster. Chain 1. We're going to skip a stitch just like you would if you were doing a regular granny square, and we're going to continue to make these granny clusters all the way around back to the beginning. I will meet you there. Once you go all the way around, and you're going to have to kind of figure out your spacing. On a couple places I had to make it a little bigger because the stitches might have been too close, but remember, a granny square cluster is 3 double crochets into the stitch. When we get to the end, we are going to slip stitch into the top of that triple crochet where we started, just like so. We're going to chain 3. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the same hole that we just skipped, because we're doing this granny stitch in the round, and this is just how I like to do it. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to keep working the granny stitch all the way around, and then we'll move on to, I'll let you know the next part.